Who you gonna call, my friends? That's right, I'm about to do a Ghostbusters movies review. Gonna be reviewing all 5 of them bad boys on this bid from my least favorite to my most favorite. Let's do this! Ow! First up, we got Ghostbusters Answer the Call from 2016. After a long stint of being away from the silver screen, the Ghostbusters come haunting back with a main 4 female cast with Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones. Longtime fans will be happy to see Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson making appearances as 3 out of the 4 of the original Ghostbusters team. Annie Potts and Sigourney Weaver also return. That being said, none of the original stars come back in as their original characters in this movie, as Bill Murray was in this movie as a paranormal debunking doc. Dan Aykroyd is a taxi driver with a parapsychology ability, and Ernie Hudson plays Patty, Leslie Jones's Uncle Bill. Ivan Reitman, who co-produced this, also cameos along with Harold Ramis' son, Daniel. I thought the movie was serviceable enough and entertaining enough time waster if you had nearly 2 hours to waste, but it fails to capture the campy charm of the original and goes for a more biting, sardonic feel. Out of all the Lady Busters here, I particularly enjoyed Kate McKinnon as Dr. Jillian Holtzman. She just has enough quirkiness and geekiness about her to make her somewhat likable. I felt her character was trying to be a female version of Harold Ramis' Egon at times, minus his deadpan delivery. You get an oddly empty-headed Chris Hemsworth as their male secretary as Kevin Beckman. He comes across as a living, clueless Ken doll, and quite the role reversal as the women get a male secretary, and the original had 4 men having a female secretary. The reboot was planned to have a sequel, but it bombed at the box office, and the series was reset, thankfully, to the original Ghostbusters characters of the 2 classics from the 80s, along with a new cast of Ghostbusters in Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I'll discuss later. Interestingly enough, a 3rd Ghostbusters movie had been in the works in 1999, written by Aykroyd, and it was later revised as Ghostbusters in Hell with Ben Stiller replacing Murray, who was reluctant to commit to a sequel, eventually leading to this reboot that Aykroyd eventually produced. The movie does tribute Harold Ramis in the closing credits and in the form of a bust in the film, which was a nice touch, but the cameos of 3 of the original actors couldn't save this film from feeling mediocre. I don't hate this movie like many seem to, but watching it only makes me nostalgic for the original 2 Ghostbusters movies and the follow-ups that would follow this 2016 offering. It tries, but just doesn't deliver the busted makes me feel good's charm. Up next is Ghostbusters 2 from 1989. Filmed a handful of years after the original Ghostbusters, this film brings back much of the original main cast to battle a new ghostly threat in the Big Apple. Sigourney Weaver returns with a baby now named Oscar, who is the apple of her eye, as well as the eyes of a creepy ghostly Carpathian named Vigo, who wants to use baby Oscar as a physical vessel for his great comeback. What a dick. Aykroyd, Murray, Hudson, and Ramis bring the goods once again with their comedic chops and chemistry, along with Annie Potts and Rick Moranis, who knocks it out of the park once again as the nerdy and hilarious neighbor of Sigourney Weaver. Moranis even gets to be an honorary Ghostbuster toward the end of the movie to try and help save the guys, Oscar and Oscar's mom, from the evil Vigo. Speaking of Vigo, this guy is one creepy mother who scared the ever-loving crap out of me when I was a kid. He was played by Wilhelm von Homburg, who was a German boxer and pro wrestler, but was voiced by veteran actor Max von Sydow, as Homburg did not have a dramatic enough voice for the role. With the combo of Homburg's looks and Sydow's voice, Vigo was sure haunting the nightmares of many kids. Ghostbusters Part 2 just didn't bring the goods of the original, and it felt a bit anticlimactic to me as Vigo was defeated by a group of people singing On Lang Syne at the stroke of New Year's midnight. Though he did come back to briefly possess a mesmerized Ray Stan, so he's got that going for him, which is nice. Man, Ray Stan sure got mesmerized easily, didn't he? Remember him getting mesmerized by Gozer in the original and thinking up the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Pepperidge Farm remembers. I particularly enjoyed Peter MacNicol, who gave a very Renfield-esque performance as the mesmerized museum employee and servant of Vigo. He did play Renfield in Dracula Dead and loving it after all, so he has that experience. Baby Oscar was played by Will and Hank Dusseldorf. I know I'm butchering the crap out of that one. I'm sorry, my fellow Germans. The two brothers, Will and Hank, that last name, played the baby Oscar at separate times in the movie. And these kids were involved in some pretty frightening scenes involving getting kidnapped off a balcony at night by a ghost. It was kind of like Baby's Day Out, but with possession and an evil Carpathian. The movie manages an iconic special effect with the Ghostbusters using the Statue of Liberty to go after Vigo to rescue Oscar and his mama. While not as iconic as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from the original, it's still a marvelous and memorable effect. The movie received mixed reviews, and the franchise lay dormant for nearly 30 years from the silver screen. It was panned by going more family-friendly than the original, but I don't see any family-friendliness in Vigo. In many ways, he creeped me out more than Gozer, but this film just wasn't quite as fun as the first. By the by, my gals and guys, if Vigo and Gozer got together and dated, would they do a Bennifer thing and call themselves Vigozer? Moving on. Third on the list is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and it's the most recent movie to come out as of March 2024. This film picks up where Ghostbusters Afterlife left off with the new Ghostbusters, Callie Spengler, her two teen kids, and her boyfriend Gary, battling Walter Peck, the mayor, an original Ghostbusters nemesis, who returns to play him by William Atherton. Mayor Peck threatens to close the Ghostbusters down. In order to get him off their backs and off their butts, Callie removes her underage daughter Phoebe from the team, much to Phoebe's chagrin. Who says chagrin anyway? I guess I do. The containment unit, which is what I call my drawers, experiences technical difficulties, been there, in this film, and the new GB team joins the OG GB team to battle the ghost along with Phoebe to save NYC from the frozen wrath of the imposing villain Gareka. Emily Lynn plays a girl named Melody who has turned into a ghost due to a fire. That would do it to you, all right. She's a ghost with heart who makes friends with Phoebe and helps her along the way. The villain in this movie is one formidable foe, perhaps their toughest villain in the movie series to date. And this movie hits the action-packed family fun button, bringing the original together with the new team, and it hits the nostalgia-busting, makes you feel good feelings real nicely. And it's more lighthearted after the somewhat over-emotional afterlife of 2021. Speaking of the afterlife, the Ghostbusters franchise brought back the original team with an all-new Ghostbusters team to pay homage to the late great Harold Ramis, as Callie, played by Carrie Coon, discovers secrets from her late father Egon's farm, along with her two children, Finn Wolfhard, I refuse to make the obvious joke, and teenager Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace. Paul Rudd, as Phoebe's teacher, Mr. Grooverson, would join them on their ghostly journeys along with Logan Kim as podcast. This movie hits the old school feel-goods with Gozer's return. This is also the most sentimental of all the Ghostbuster movies, as Egon as a ghost rejoins his original members of Ray, Peter, and Winston to battle Gozer, who killed Egon in an earlier battle. Afterlife breathes new life into the franchise after Answers the Call almost killed it and brings back a great deal of the original cast. And at the tippity top of this heap is, of course, the original Ghostbusters. This movie is an absolute icon of pure 80s nostalgia. This movie, along with Back to the Future, to me, is the 80s. Sigourney Weaver, possessed by Gozer, does battle along with her hellhounds against the Ghostbusters team in New York City. You got so many iconic scenes in this bad boy, from the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man to Slimer wreaking havoc to whoever gets in his way. This is a time capsule of feel-good total tubularness that helps make the 80s such an awesome decade to live in and revisit. It's impossible not to feel good when I watch this movie with a heavy-hitting comedic cast including Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, Annie Potts, Sigourney Weaver, and Rick Moranis, just to name a few. We also get introduced to the iconic song Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr., and it makes me feel good enough to put this movie at the top of the list. Thank you so much for watching, and please like, subscribe, and share just like Bustin'. That would make me feel good. I'm Preston E. Garrison, and I'm out of here, and I ain't scared of no ghost.